Hello my favorite people, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be everything I read in January. I read a total of 11 books and I had one DNF in January. We started off 2026 with a book called Just One Bite by S.L. Coakley. I would consider this book a romance with fantasy elements. The fantasy elements were like vampires, hybrids, werewolves, all that type of stuff mixed into one school. The school is called Lashay University, if I'm not mistaken. Also, I have my MacBook right here to help me out while I'm telling you everything I read this month and my thought. I ended up rating this book a 1 star. The entire first half of the book, I thought, okay, this will be a 3 star. I thought it was a good story. The story follows Olivia and her 2 other sisters. The story is mainly focused on Olivia, but she came to Doxathia with her 2 other sisters who are humans, and her sisters have really good blood. This world that we're set in, they have like a donor program where humans can donate their blood to all of the species that need it, and these humans can feel safe because they're under this program that protects them. Well, her and her sisters aren't under the program, so they have nothing to protect them, especially when they go to attend Doxathia University, a school with all species. As they get to the school, people are already trying to get their blood, and then we have our main male character. His name is Parker, and Parker ends up seeing Olivia, and it's basically insta love if you ask me. He's basically so enamored with her, and he's like, okay, I want to protect her, and if I got to protect her and her sisters, I'm okay with that. The first half of the book was pretty good. We were basically following a romance the entire time in a college setting, if you ask me. It was just romance in college, and then the second half took a turn where I was just like, you don't know what you're doing. It was to the point where we were doing mystery, and I was like, where did we get this? And the ending was so far-fetched and just so unneeded. I was like, okay, I really did not enjoy the second half of this book. I found myself not wanting to pick it up, and it no longer felt like how it felt in the first half, because it was a romantic story and we were following like a storyline that was pretty okay with me, and it was pretty fast-paced. But then we just started taking left and right turns, trying to be fast when it wasn't feeling fast, because we were adding a whole bunch of unnecessary things to the story. All in all, I ended up rating this book a 1 star. Just like everybody else in this world, I was on a heated rivalry kick in the beginning of the year. I am still on a heated rivalry kick. You guys should see next week me reading heated rivalry. I'm so freaking excited. I'm looking at the book on my desk right now, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 2 other men that I fell in love with, and that is Kyron and Ivy in For the Fans by Nala K. Oh my gosh, this was my first 5 star of 2026, and of course it was an MM. It's a taboo story. It is 2 stepbrothers who hate each other. I would say Kyron hates Ivy more than Ivy hates Kyron from the beginning, but they hate each other, and it was so freaking good. Oh my god, oh my god. From the beginning of the book, we have Ivy who lives with his mother. His dad sadly had passed away. Then we have Kyron who lives with his dad, and his parents are actually divorced. Kyron's dad and Ivy's mom begin dating and come together, and now they're like this family. We see that happen in the beginning of the book, and then we see how Kyron basically hates Ivy, and Ivy just, I feel Ivy hated Kyron because it just made sense to just hate him back. The 2 of them end up going off to Boston University, where when they're in college, their family falls under some financial situation where they actually have to make money, so the 2 of them are able to stay in school. And let's just say Ivy's like, my friend's doing OnlyFans, she's trying to convince me to do it, so maybe I'm gonna do it. And some things happen, one thing leads to a number, and then Kyron ends up doing OnlyFans with Ivy, and it just all go down from there. Oh my god, genuinely some of the best smut I've read in a long time, back to back to back. If I have a book with 5 scenes of smut, sometimes I can think that's a lot. If it's like a 300-page book, I would say, that's a bit much. This book probably had 10 to 15, I don't even know. It felt like it was a lot, but it felt good every single time. How do it hit every single time? I don't know. It was good every time. That's all I gotta say. This book was a 5 star because I also love the dark undertone, and you can find that in a lot of the books that I read. I really go into a book seeking a darker underlining of it. Like, we have realistic things that actually happen to people. I like the escapism of books, but I like where there are realistic things sprinkled throughout, and I can really feel for the characters. It really helps me understand them further, and I think this book being 500 pages, it truly helped me understand who Kyron was, and I felt so bad for him. Like, through this book, I felt for him, and it also allowed me to understand who Ivy was as a person and watch him grow. I really enjoyed this book. I love this book. I think you should obviously look at the trigger warnings. It is a little darker. I don't think the couple together, they aren't like a dark romance, but I think there are darker themes in this story, so definitely look into that. Definitely recommend you read For the Fans if you're in the mood for a spicy MM with darker themes and just 2 men falling in love. Continuing on with some MM, I read Power Play by Mel McCabe. This book follows Kellen and Wells. Kellen is currently on college college hockey. He's trying to get on the NHL team. He actually is balancing a job, hockey practice, being in hockey season, and also trying to support his family back home. Then we have Wells. He's basically a rich boy who actually got bullied growing up, and now he's like this changed, built up boy, and he's still dealing with trauma from when he was younger from being bullied, and he hasn't really fully gotten over that or been able to move through that. And especially gets worse because he sees Kellen, and Kellen is somebody who bullied him when he was younger. Wells meets Kellen because Kellen is sent to be tutored by Wells because his coach made him go to him for tutoring because he was lacking on his grades a little bit, and his coach really did it to kind of just help him out a little bit. So they end up interacting together from the jump. Wells is not liking Kellen. He's giving off mean energy, and he basically want to fuck with him, and he want to be like, okay boy, I will turn you out. That's what I got from it. Like, I will turn you out. And Kellen was basically like, boy, you're not turning me out. Like, if we're gonna get down, we're gonna get dirty. And I'm not gonna lie, it was good. It wasn't bad. I ended up giving this book a 2.5 stars. I felt like it was decent. I had to take a second. I'm sorry if I forgot where I was at, but I rated the book 2.5 stars. I thought it was pretty decent. It was fast paced, but I didn't feel much for the two men as the characters alone, and I didn't really feel too much for them together. I was like, okay, like this is cool, this is nice, but it felt really borderline, not something I would recommend off the top of my head, and I didn't think the writing was all of that. Next we had my DNF, which was Pretty Monster by Sheridan, and I did not like this book, and I'm so glad I DNF'd it, and I kind of felt like I wasted 100 pages of my life reading this book. You know, you don't realize how bad a book is until you continue on reading it, and I read that, and I was like, you know, I gotta put this down. I don't remember our female main character's name, and it doesn't even say it in the prologue, so I'm just going to tell you straight. She ends up having a stalker. Cool. We know that. I felt like the book was supposed to be about her and the stalker, but I'm about 50 pages in. She's only talking about this motorcycle guy who wants her, her neighbor who wants her, and then her co-worker at the tattoo shop she works at who wants her. 3 guys she keeps talking about who wants her. She ends up having sex with one of the guys, and I think another one of the guys, and I'm 100 pages in. We're barely hearing anything from the stalker, and come to find out one of the guys are the stalker. How the heck am I supposed to know that? When were you going to preface that in your book? And why is that a good story for me to wonder which one is my MMC, and like I'm rooting for the wrong person? I don't enjoy that. I did not enjoy this book, and I thought the writing was pretty pick me. The writer was writing herself as the main female main character, and she just said, oh, I'm not this like other girls. That's all I got. It wasn't good. But the next book is Ricochet by River Hill. I really enjoyed this book. I ended up rating it a 3 star. It was a pretty solid book. The first half of the book I enjoyed more than the second half. We have Stone and we have Callum. Callum is a boy who basically he found his mom dead. He then moved on to finding his stepfather murdered when he was younger. This was from a young age. He had to move schools and move in with his aunt and like just start basically a whole new life because he had no family left after that. And then Stone, he kind of comes into play because Stone saw Callum in a compromising moment, and now they're years older. They're both in college, and Stone transfers to the same college that Callum is in, and they have this underlying connection that you won't know as soon as you start the book, so I'll let you read and figure that out. But something that connects them, especially that moment that Stone saw a piece of Callum that Callum did not want him to see. Yeah, Callum never forgot that, so that's another piece how they're connected. I think their romance was pretty decent, but it could have been better because the first half of that book was so much tension, and it had a nice little gruesome touch that I do like to books. I like when a book starts off gruesome, and this book definitely started off gruesome. I really enjoyed that, and I thought we could have played into that, and we also could have had some tension building. I think everything happened a little too fast. It happened too fast, so we weren't able to fully get into the story and have banter between our two main characters and really get to see the tension build, because they had some tension filled scenes, and I was like, okay, this might be seen. But it in the end fell short and just became like a 3 star. I would still recommend it because if you want like a simple, easy to read romance, they do play hockey with a little bit of a dark touch on it. I think you'd enjoy this. Next, I kind of made the mistake of going back to FM, where it's a male and a female, and I read The Pumpkin Wrong Date by C.R. Jane. I thought I would enjoy this a little more than I did because I mean the concept was good. It was about obsession. We have Walker Davis, who goes by Disney. He's a hockey player. I mean, he's good, and they say he would be obsessed with his girl and he would do anything for his girl because his girl, whose name I forgot, she's a pop star who's basically Taylor Swift, but then she had this situation happen and she basically goes on a downfall. I thought he would be more, let's just say I'm doing this and y'all can figure it out what y'all doing, but she mine and I'm going to do what I want with my girl, because she want me, I want her, and I'm going to do what I want, whatever she want. It didn't go like that. He just gave me, oh, I'm so obsessed, I'm so in love with you, but it gave a golden retriever. Like, you're supposed to be this possessive, obsessive guy, but you're a golden retriever. Gave it a 2-star. Next, I read A Rose in Chains by Harley Beck. I really enjoyed this book because we had mute representation. It was another romance, and I had never read a book with mute representation just yet, and I really enjoyed how this was handled. I do think we should have dived deeper into it. In our story, we have Arkin and we have another MMC. The MMC's family, they're all like Christians and they work with the church, and Arkin is actually an orphan, so the church helps him out and he gets placed with a family in the church, which ends up being our MMC's family. At first, our MMC is like, oh, who's this weirdo moving in with me, da 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 da, but obviously over time he realizes that Arkin is mute by choice, as everyone knows, but he realizes it comes from something, from trauma and things that Arkin has went through. I think this story could have been better if we actually got to understand that trauma a little bit further. It wasn't deep enough. I didn't get it enough. We didn't get enough. It should have been so much more than what it was. It felt very borderline, and also the writing of the story alone just felt borderline. So it wasn't as deep as it could have been, especially with the trauma that causes someone to go mute. This book could have been 10 times longer than what it was, simply going into that and having our two characters actually work through that together. Also, for our other MMC, he comes from a family who are like Christians and love the church. We could have definitely talked a bit more about that and seen how he works through that, going from being the straight guy to being gay. Next, I read Wit by Cora Rose. I rated this book a 4-star. This was an unexpected banger. I love this story. I love the scenes in this story of the way we got to spoon over Wit and Caleb together. This story starts off where we have Caleb basically falling sick and Wit taking care of him. Wit is his roommate. Wit actually has money, so Caleb's not sure why Wit even needs a roommate, and Caleb knows nothing about Wit. So Caleb falling sick actually makes him and Wit closer. The two of them getting closer, and it's like, okay, Caleb's like, okay, I feel for this boy. Like, I want to cuddle 24/7. I want to cuddle with this man, and I'm not gay, but I want to cuddle with him. Okay, so you're not gay, but you want to cuddle with a man, like, and it makes him think a lot of stuff, and he wants to be close to Wit. He wants to understand Wit, and we get a lot of scenes in the story to swoon over. We see Wit with Caleb's family. We see how Caleb really pushes himself into Wit's life, and he really forces himself to be into Wit's heart, and how Wit can't really push Caleb away, how he can push away a lot of people. And Wit has a lot of underlying dark things going on his own. He has a lot of secrets we don't know about. We have a lot of information we don't know about Wit that we're trying to find out. And most of this book was a lot of scenes of just Caleb and Wit together and just like basically falling in love, and so much stuff to swoon over. I really loved that. This book could have been higher rated only if we would have dived deeper into understanding Wit, and we could have got more scenes where we had Wit actually open up instead of it just being borderline small things, because I feel like it was a lot of just like spilled out of Wit at one point in time. Like, a lot of stuff just came out when it didn't have to go that way. We could have eased into all of this and just got more and more familiar with it all over time. But I do enjoy these two as a couple. I enjoyed Caleb and I enjoyed Wit. And as we moved on into the story, we met another character. His name is Magnus in this book, and then Magnus ends up showing up in the next book that I started reading, which is called Sim by Cora Rose. Sim is the book following Sim, who is Caleb's cousin from our last book, and Magnus, who we met in our last book. Magnus is connected to Wit, so that's how we met him, and Magnus is also Caleb's friend. So Magnus is around pretty often. He's around Caleb's cousins because Caleb is really close with his cousins, and Magnus and Sim come together because one night something happened to Caleb, and then Sim ended up driving Magnus home from the whole situation. After that, Sim starts stalking Magnus. I don't think he was like, our biggest stalker I've ever met. He wasn't the scariest or anything like that. He wasn't trying to scare him. He was just intentionally stalking him. I ended up rating the book a 2.5 star because it was decent. It wasn't life-changing if you ask me. I thought that the first book was better than this one. I just felt like Magnus would have a different approach. I didn't think he would be how he was in this story. I still liked him because he's like a quirky type of guy. He has little rhinos on his ties and he wants to be a teacher. He loves children. I really like that about him. I just didn't feel too much about him and Sim together. Felt like Sim was a copy and paste of Caleb. He wasn't fully Caleb though, because like he wasn't the one being, so he wasn't really like Caleb because Caleb was the one being but Sim was not. So I think that was the only difference. They literally were copy and paste characters. The next book I ended up reading was Poetry on Ice by Jesse H. Rain. This is another MM hockey romance. We have Ant and we have Robbie, and I had a hard time figuring out what I rated this book. I ended up rating it a 4-star at the end, but I couldn't decide. I just was going off straight vibes. Like, I went off of straight vibes when I rated this book. We have Robbie, who's in the NHL, and he gets traded to a team in Seattle, the Seattle Spiders, if I'm not mistaken. He gets traded to them because he really wanted to be on the team from the jump anyway, so he's very happy. But Ant is on this team, and Ant is known for being like a bad boy in hockey. He has talked shit about Robbie before, so it's a little bit of tension there. More so Ant not liking Robbie, but more so Ant is a closeted, keep that in mind, gay man. Ant knows that he's gay. He never told anybody. He keeps it hidden, and he has his own reasons for keeping it hidden, but he knows he gay, and he really don't like Robbie because Robbie's so cute and make him like Obviously things take a turn and they end up having their romance, and I really enjoyed this story. I liked how we had the scenes to swoon over and we could actually watch them fall in love. I think a lot of books in romance especially miss the part where we actually see them date and see them enjoy each other. We just have the build up to them getting together, and then we have a third act break up, and then we get the happy ending, and that's it. And I'm just like, okay, is that okay for you? Okay, but it's not okay for me, so it's not gonna work for me. No. The last book that we have on our list is Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. I ended up rating this book a 2.75. This was the lowest I rated an Allie Hazelwood book ever. Do I regret it? No, never said that. Our two main characters are Elsie and Jack. Elsie is a theoretical physicist and Jack is an experimentalist physicist. They are two different types of physicists, but they basically do physics. Elsie works at a bunch of colleges teaching classes as a professor. She doesn't make a lot of money for that, so she starts fake dating on this app. She just gets paid to go on fake dates. That's it. She ends up being fake dating for Jack's brother, who she really enjoys fake dating for because he's pretty easy. He doesn't ask for much, and they're basically friends. She goes to a meeting for a job at MIT, and Jack shows up, and he's like, hold up, wait sis, you are not no physicist. Like, you literally were just at my brother's house for dinner last night. That's basically how our story starts, and I had no problem with that section of the story and how we go from that, watching to see if Elsie will get that job at MIT and how she will interact with Jack going forward. I loved that half of the book until we got to this half of the book, and I was just like, I just felt like the second half of the book, and especially the ending was not accurate for the two characters. But maybe I didn't know them at all because I didn't like either of the characters on their own individual selves. I thought together they were okay, and I think together other people could like them more than I liked them. They were just really mainstream, and I really didn't like the second half of the book. I'm not going to tell you what happened obviously in the second half, but just know we switch up from the first half. It takes a whole new turn, which I think it was good. It was like an overarching change in the book. I really do like stuff like that, but it just didn't hit. With that being said, that is all the books I read in January. I read 11 whole books. That is the most books I've read in the month ever. And we are not playing in 2026. Let's lock in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And you stay here and watch this journey to completing our reading goal and just growing on YouTube. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next week. Mwah!